Welcome back to We Connect. Thank you for staying right here with us. And as I was saying earlier, my guest is Dadhichi, astrologer and Australian to boot. So I'm glad you're just right here with us. Both of these things together. I mean, it's such an amazing combination. I honestly tell you that.
Well, the name and Australia, it's a strange bedfellows.
I know, that's true.
Mostly what people ask me is my name.
Yes, that's true. That would have been my
Isn't
next.
that the sage of India? And actually that was a name that was given to me. So no, it's not my birth name, but it is my legal name now.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, I changed it. I had a lot of respect for my first teacher, Swami Muktananda. In 1980 he gave me that name when I was, just delving into meditation and trying to get some insights into myself.
You've stuck with it, right?
I stuck with it because I like the general meaning of the name is to serve, service. Mm-hmm. And I think it serves me well using that name for the profession that I'm in.
Right. You were talking earlier to me before the camera started rolling about face reading and other things that you're interested in doing. Yes. Let's talk about that. I want to know.
Face reading began with me out of a very strange situation. I used to be invited to large functions with very wealthy people, sometimes at trade fairs, and we'd have queues of people. But sometimes when you'd ask a woman her birth date, because you obviously need that to do the horoscope, it would be, oh...
Should I tell him? Oh, no.
I don't really want to reveal my age, so it becomes a little difficult. At that point, I started to study the face, and I took interest in that. And at the same time, I was very fortunate. There was an incredible astrologer and a dear friend of mine, Professor Ramakrishna Sarathy, who came from Chennai. He passed away a few years ago, but he came to Australia around the time that I started studying the topics of astrology and face reading, and he gave me the most brilliant reading at the time. And actually he was interviewed by the Australian press, and he was given 3 photographs at that time. One of the men was hardly known. He was in the trade union movement. They had the opposition leader and I think the Prime Minister at the time. And he was asked, which of these will be the next Prime Minister? And he looked at them, and with his intuition, he pointed to the head of the trade union movement. Suffice to say, he was ridiculed in the press in Australia until the next election, when he became the Prime Minister. At that point, 60 Minutes invited him back on, and the rest was history. He was brilliant. In fact, I'll just tell you another little story there.
Please.
I used to sit in his plush hotel rooms, and he had a strange habit of turning the television down just in between clients. And I was sitting there one day with him saying, look, tell me a little bit more about how to develop this intuition, Rama. And he used to call me Daddy. Well, Daddy, just then the Lotto program came on. It was like he said, Daddy, I pray to the goddess. Sorry, excuse the Indian accent. But look, the next ball, it will be number 33. And there it was, number 33. So you had to be impressed by this guy. He really, really was an amazing guy. And he attributed his powers to the japa of the Gayatri. Okay. And so as much as I could, I hung out with him for many, many years. Every time he was in Australia, I'd go and visit him. Then he actually introduced me to the Consul General of India, and we went to dinner there. And that's how I started coming up here to India, through Rama, and I came to visit him, and God rest his soul, he passed away a few years ago. But I've had a few mentors here, and fascinating, brilliant people like that have to inspire you.
Right. Face reading.
Yes.
Would you say that it is an essential part of astrology, or is it something that can be quite separated away from astrology?
It's funny, when you think about astrology, most astrologers think astrology is about the stars. Yeah. Astrology is about human beings.
Really?
So it makes sense if someone comes to sit before you. Yes, often I'll have the horoscope there and I'll study it, but I'm finding more and more that understanding another human being has everything to do about looking at their face.
Is it possible to do that? I mean, you just look at somebody's face and say, okay, I relate to, or I gel with this person?
Well, I look genetically at nature. If you look, let's take the example of a bird that is born with a long beak. It hatches. That long beak tells us something about the activities of that creature.
True.
That creature, just by virtue of the physical structure, will by nature perform certain actions. And the human face is the same. Actually, there are different grades, the ectomorph, the endomorph, the mesomorph, and many subclasses. But then each of the different features relate to different portions of the brain, the muscles, the sinews, the nerves. So over years of study, we can indeed get an insight into who that person is and how they're genetically wired.
Right. You talked earlier about your other guru who would actually look at a photograph and read a face. So is that actually possible? I mean, I am trying to ask, do you have to be looking up at me in a physical form?
No.
Is it necessary to do that?
It helps to see all the different nuances of the face, because to me there's three components of face reading. There's the actual genetic structural component. There are the nuances, or what we call the expressions, down to the micro expressions, which reveal such things as the chemical changes that are going on in the brain, such as movement of the pupils. And I often relate to card readers who wear sunglasses in the middle of the night in the casinos. Why? Because even if they've got a deadpan face, the pupils open and close with a certain level of excitement. Oh my God, I've got a good hand here. So the other reader can read that. And likewise in relationships, if you understand this principle, you'll know when someone is interested in what you're saying and when they're not. Pupils will open up or close. There's certain mannerisms or micro expressions. And the third component is intuition. I always rely heavily on that.
Really? You did say that you can actually develop intuition with experience. And that's,
again, practice. So by looking at a person, getting a sense of who that person is. The Chinese face readers do have a reference to that as what we'd call the X factor. It's nothing written in the palaces or the markings or the lines or the features or the structure. It's just that quality of isness. Who is this person? It's the energy that the person gives off. And if you're acute enough in your perception, your awareness, then you'll have a sense. Sometimes that's where the predictions come in. You can't give any reason technically or from any book or any teaching that you've received. It's just a feeling. Call it the goddess giving you the message.
Right.
Vak. They call it Vak here, I believe. The Vak Siddhi.
Yes. When you predict something for somebody, you could go wrong.
And I have.
And how do you feel then when you go wrong?
I feel I'm human.
Oh, well, that's good enough. That's fair enough. I think that's an honest
We have to keep
response.
practicing. And, you know, I say to people, the astrologer also has a horoscope. There are good days and bad days for the astrologer. So we have to, as much as we can. Today I couldn't change the time of the appointments. I just have to deal with what's the hand that's given to me on the day.
Right.
Sometimes I'll err, sometimes I won't, sometimes the predictions are brilliant, sometimes I'm stumped.
Right.
And it's at that point, I think, an astrologer, and I say this to all astrologers, there's no shame in saying, look,
I made a mistake.
I'm not getting anything at this point, especially if you intuitively feel you're not going to get the right answer for that.
Right. Dadhichi, one final question.
Yes.
How long more do you think, and what's the direction in which this journey will go for you?
For me?
Yes, for you.
It's open-ended. I think the process of enlightenment that never stops, the process of self-understanding. And I say to people, I love the word understanding because it's actually two words, isn't it? Understand, but it's back to front. So we should stand under.
Stand under.
Humble ourselves and continue to grow and learn. But in the meanwhile, people can come to my website, astrology.com.au. That offers a lot of free information, so it's not all for money.
Right.
Of course, you can pay me if you want to have a more detailed analysis, but knowledge should be given freely as much as we can.
We'll be putting that out on our screen, and may your journey continue. I'd like to thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It's really been my pleasure to have you on the show.
Too.
Well, that's all we have time for here on WeConnect. And don't forget to keep watching us every single Friday night. This is the program on which you will meet people who are interesting, people who are fascinating, people who always have a wonderful story to tell me here on WeConnect. And of course, telling me is telling you. So until the next time, you take care. Bye for now.